After watching a video I made titled Zakernike is a Joke, Bob Ross commented, "Is this acting in love towards your enemies or being beyond reproach? Keeping your mouth free from slander to call someone a joke and make fun of your opponents? Would Christ behave this way?" I replied, "No, the man who called the Pharisees fools, hypocrites, and whitewashed tombs full of dead men's bones would never call people names. LOL. Do I detect a hint of sarcasm in my voice? Steve Muscle adds, "David, surely this is not a good attitude, my friend. The only way forward with Muslims is to love them. Do not ridicule them. I hope you are hearing that I'm saying this in love. I'm convinced that ridiculing Muslims will not win them. Bless you, Steve from London." And I replied, "Odd how reality so rarely lines up with what Western Christians call the only way forward." Now, the complaint here is that I called Zakernike a joke. Why did I call Zakernike a joke? Because he's managed to convince Muslims that he's a champion debater who's taken down Christianity's top apologists when he's never faced a single experienced Christian debater. Not one. The fact that his career is based on portraying himself as something that he's not makes him a fraud. So why wouldn't I tell Muslims that he's deceived them and that in reality he's a complete joke? According to Bob Ross, I shouldn't tell them he's a joke because Jesus would never say something like that. As my comment suggests, I have no clue what Jesus Bob Ross is reading about. There were hypocritical religious leaders like Nike in the time of Jesus, and Jesus told them exactly what they were. So appealing to Jesus won't work here. What else is there? Well, according to Steve Muscle, the only way forward with Muslims is to love them and not to ridicule them. And again, he's referring to me telling Muslims that Zakernike is a joke. Notice that ridiculing Zakernike is the opposite of loving Muslims, according to Steve. I disagree completely. I regard ridicule in the appropriate circumstances as an incredibly loving act. When Jesus ridiculed the Pharisees, was he being unloving? According to Steve Muscle, he was, but I think Jesus was telling the Pharisees exactly what they needed to hear. Sadly, many Western Christians just won't listen to reason, so all I can do is testify. Or, even better, let a bunch of former Muslims testify. Name omitted because the penalty for leaving Islam is death writes, "Hi, David. I'm name omitted because the penalty for leaving Islam is death. I live in Turkey, also raised, and through grace I am a newborn Christian. You have shaken Islam, proving it wrong, proving that Jesus is the way. I would love to save my family and friends and all of Turkey so that they may be born again. I want to give you a salutation of respect and thankfulness. Without you, I would still be lost in the darkness of Islam. But through grace and through your preaching, I am born again. Thank you so much, my wonderful friend." Name omitted because the penalty for leaving Islam is death writes, "David, I'm sure you're familiar with me by now. You've commented on my previous comments on a few of your videos, but it didn't go that well. As a Muslim from birth, I found your channel through a friend of mine who happened to be an atheist. I constantly refuted your videos, saying, Muhammad never did this, Islam is not like this and that. But I couldn't refute you with any rational approaches. After watching a few of your videos, my faith in Islam weakened, and by God, this weakening truly broke the chains of Islam that surrounded me, and I proclaimed with my tongue, this religion is nothing more than a religion that was inspired by Satan himself. So, proudly and joyfully, I left Islam about 4 to 5 days ago. I'm currently in the process of telling my parents, or telling my siblings, or my Muslim friends, but I fear the worst. The penalty is death, but here in the West, it's most likely a brutal beating. Nonetheless, I've been actively visiting a Presbyterian church, and they've been a great help to me. I expect myself to be baptized very soon. The love of Christ was with me from birth, but I was brainwashed to reject his love. My brother, thank you for the great amount of knowledge you send to people about the true fruit of Islam. I'm a supporter of what you do, and I plan to speak out against Islam, such as yourself, soon. I cannot express more gratitude and joy, but thank you, David, sincerely. Name omitted because the penalty for leaving Islam is death writes, I now know that Muhammad was a false prophet. David Wood has opened my eyes to the truth about Islam. Name omitted because the penalty for leaving Islam is death writes, Hello, David. I'm an ex-Muslim and I accepted Jesus last week. I saw your videos a few months ago and they showed me the truth. Name omitted because the penalty for leaving Islam is death writes, David, your videos have helped many Muslims to know about Christ, including me. Many former Muslims are grateful for you. Name omitted because the penalty for leaving Islam is death writes, Well, thank you for playing a major part in my decision to leave Islam, but now what? Every day is like hell for me here, being secretly an ex-Muslim. I live in Saudi, the most extreme Islamist country in the world, where I can literally get executed for writing this comment. I can't get out of here. I legit feel my life has taken a turn to the worst. It's been really tough to pretend and to live my life wearing a mask every day. I'm feeling depressed. I wasted most of my life trying to be a good Muslim, and after I discovered the truth, I feel I'm imprisoned here. What do? I don't want to commit suicide, however appealing that idea sounds to me right now. I haven't been reading my responses in this video, but this is an important one. I say, Hi brother, things may be rough now, but we're the first generation of non-Muslims who can successfully deal with Islam as an ideology on a large scale. Until very recently, non-Muslims didn't have access to Islam's most trusted sources to use them against Islam, and Muslim leaders could keep Muslims insulated from criticisms against Islam. But all of the major Islamic sources have now been translated, and we can reach anyone with internet access. Since Islam simply cannot withstand criticism, Islam is going to crumble. You get to sit back and watch. As for what you should do now, here's the gospel. Name omitted because the penalty for leaving Islam is death writes, Thank you, David. You reached me through YouTube. We were lied to at Muslim schools and misled. I am very grateful to you. Name omitted because the penalty for leaving Islam is death writes, I always watched Zakir Naik videos. I thought whatever he said was truth. Now I research on what he says. You have opened my eyes, David. I left Islam too. I am free. I am Indian, so I can do anything I like. You are doing a good job. Name omitted because the penalty for leaving Islam is death writes, Thank you, David, for helping me leave Islam. For a long time I wanted to know why are so many Muslim countries so horrible and backwards? Why do so many Muslims marry their cousins? Why do so many Muslims turn to violence? Everything started to make sense when I realized Islam is incredibly wrong. I'm thinking about converting to Christianity. Once again, keep up the good work, David. Name omitted because the penalty for leaving Islam is death writes, Hello, David. I grant that you get messages like this daily, but I would like to show my appreciation to you. I'm an ex-Muslim. I left Islam in February of this year. This comment was from last year, so this would have been February of 2016. I'm an apostate. I left Islam after being unable to defend the Quran, and especially Muhammad, from the backwards, evil actions of the Quran and Muhammad himself. I found it revolting and disgusting that Muhammad pleasured himself to a 6-year-old girl, and I questioned why I follow such a man. Even so, before I left, I would stay up very late, refuting the Quranic evidence that very openly says that men are allowed to rape married females, kill idolaters, etc. This is when my faith started to slip, though it was not gone yet. But then I came across your video where you show us 10 Quran verses that justifies the actions of ISIL. Curiosity struck, and I went on to more videos, the newer and recent uploads, and I could not help but agree with you. Islam is a sadistic cult that belongs in the 1st century. If apostasy was not met by death, the followers of Islam would be much smaller than 1 billion. From an outside perspective, Islam may seem to grow fast, but on the inside, many people want to leave. I know 7 Muslim women that want to leave Islam and live a free life. However, they will get humiliated by their family and friends. I feel privileged that I'm a male. It's much easier for a male to leave compared to a female. Nonetheless, I left, and in July, I became a Christian through baptism. My faith now resides in the Lord Jesus. I want you to know that you have my deepest appreciation, and I genuinely respect you as an individual. I say to you, thank you for opening my eyes and the eyes of many. I was blind, but you took off the blindfold. Cheers, David. So, we've got former Muslims telling us one thing about how to reach Muslims, and Western Christians telling us something completely different. Whom should we listen to? I don't know about you, but I'm going with the former Muslims. And if you don't like it, Bob Ross and Steve Muscle, get over yourselves and get off the tracks, because there's a train coming through.